All right, y'all, this is the clean finish here on the OSC Podcast Network. Triple R here. And as always, want to say thank you guys for taking the time to listen, whether it be on the Apple Podcast app or on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, leave ratings, comments, any feedback whatsoever is much appreciated to help us give you the content that you're looking for. And we got a lot to discuss here on the clean finish. We're going to go over some Hell in a Cell thoughts, what's next on the SmackDown brand, and amongst other things. And joining me as always is Ant-Man. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Triple R? How you doing?
Man, another day, another week of wrestling. So let's go ahead and get into this. First things first, this past Sunday, we had Hell in a Cell go down on the WWE Network. Overall, what were your thoughts on the show?
Overall, I thought it was a much better pay-per-view than last SmackDown pay-per-view. Overall, the whole thing started with a bang for the Usos and New Days in Hell in a Cell, and ended with a bang with Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens in Hell in a Cell. So I thought it was a great pay-per-view for SmackDown, for the SmackDown brand.
I finally came around to watching it. I wasn't able to watch it the night of, but I have watched it over the last few days, and I agree. I thought the way that they bookended the show, starting with a Hell in a Cell and ending with a Hell in a Cell, they started off on fire, they ended on fire. So it was overall a decent show. The undercard was what it was. There were a couple of highlights, not too many to speak of, but the two Hell in a Cell matches delivered. And basically, it was just a two-match show, so at least those two matches delivered. So Usos and the New Day, that was a hell of a match right there. Not since DX, and I want to say it was Legacy, there hasn't been a tag team Hell in a Cell match. These two teams delivered, in my opinion.
Oh, a phenomenal match between the Uso and the New Day. So, again, we thought that Xavier Woods would be the one sitting out. Turned out it would be Kofi Kingston that would be on outside of the Hell in a Cell cage. Kind of surprised he never factored into the match at all. But some of the moves, some of the spots that they were able to pull off was just phenomenal.
Very innovative stuff.
I mean, Xavier Woods with the multicolored Francescas, just taking it to the stomach of the Usos. And one of my favorite spots of them is they pinned Jey Uso in the corner with kendo sticks.
Yeah, that was a great spot.
And just locked him up in there and just basically had their way with Jimmy while he was stuck in there. They even had like a kendo stick going across his cheek. Like his face was planted on there. It was awesome.
I wish we would have seen how he got out of it though.
Yeah, the bad camera angle and other stuff going on the other side of the ring doesn't show how he gets out of it. And then to counteract that, I think the Usos handcuffing both Big E and Xavier Woods. They handcuffed Xavier Woods to the top of the outside pole and just go to town on his stomach with on his midsection with the kendo sticks was, I think, a phenomenal spot for the Usos.
My favorite spot was Big E delivering the Uranagi, that rock bottom type maneuver, and then Xavier Woods comboing it with the backstabber on the outside. Now, I don't know who got the worst of that, though. If it was whatever Uso it was that they did it to, or Xavier landing back first outside on the mats. That was a devastating spot.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, you've only got a limited amount of space outside of that ring, in between the ring and the cage to work in. And these guys are big dudes and just pulling off big spots. They definitely had to take ice baths, both teams, by the time they got out of there. Did you see Xavier Woods' stomach, his midsection?
Yeah, he posted it on Instagram. It was brutal.
I mean, the man is a dark brown color, and his stomach was bright red.
I don't know where Xavier Woods finds the time to go to sleep. I mean, besides all the traveling and having to go to the gym and maintain a diet, that's part of his job with the WWE. He runs his YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down. He's constantly at a convention doing the whole cosplay deal. I mean, this guy, every minute of his day is occupied doing something.
Yeah, and on top of just doing the up, up, down, down, he's setting up like matches and tournaments within the WWE.
Yeah,
I agree. Like he has like 17 jobs, but hey, he's good at what he does, and somehow he finds an hour or two to nap in there. That reminds me of an old story about Paul Heyman while he was running ECW. It was Tommy Dreamer, Paul Heyman, and one other guy in the cutting room, and they were editing the footage for the ECW for the following week. And Tommy Dreamer sitting there editing, watching the match, and they're playing the matches, seeing where to cut camera angles and stuff like that. He said Paul Heyman was laying on the couch with like his, because back then he used to wear the little New York Yankees hat with his ponytail. He had the hat kind of over his eyes. And without even looking, he tells Tommy Dreamer to stop. He says, go back right there. He says, cut that out and edit it with this other footage. Without even looking at any of the footage, he was able to hear like a misstep in the tape. Tell Tommy Dreamer to edit it out so that the flow would be seamless.
Operating in his sleep, man. The man is something else.
Hey, the man has come from a lowly reporter at 16 years old, at Madison Square Garden, meeting all these wrestlers to, running his own show. So, he knew that thing like the back of his hand.
All right, so round of applause go to the Usos and the New Day. That was a phenomenal match. Some other highlights, let's see. Baron Corbin, new United States champion. They did end up making it a triple threat there at the last second, which that should have been the match they promoted the entire time, but at least it's what they gave us on the pay-per-view, and it made sense, especially so that Baron Corbin can pin Ty Dillinger and AJ don't take that loss there at the pay-per-view, although he took it just a couple days later at SmackDown.
Yeah, it made perfect sense. You had Ty Dillinger and Baron Corbin interrupting each other leading up to the pay-per-view. So for them to make it a triple threat makes sense. I guess they saved it so that you could get that whole little perfect 10, yes, back and forth between the Raw general manager, Daniel Bryan, and Ty Dillinger. He was able to finagle his way into the match. The match in and of itself was pretty good, kept the action up, kept the momentum going, and then of course you had Baron Corbin pinning Ty Dillinger. So I thought it was pretty good. A good way to, elevate, to put the title on Baron Corbin. I guess he's off the shit list for the WWE for now. And see get his career back on track.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So yeah, he apparently seems to be out of the doghouse. Or, was he ever in there in the first place? This is all rumor, internet, and whatnot. No one really knows what's going on. But it does make me scratch my head, though. Why take the Money in the Bank briefcase off of him, and then they end up throwing the U.S. title on him? I'm not understanding that whole rationale. It's almost like they just regretted putting the Money in the Bank briefcase on him in the first place. Like had someone else won it, they probably would have done something else with the briefcase rather than that person losing it.
Yeah, and I kind of look at it like, he won the briefcase, and I guess, he got in the doghouse, and it almost seems like they overreacted. So their first immediate thing was, well, we'll take the briefcase away. He wastes the briefcase opportunity. And then they kind of backtrack from that, and they're like, oh, maybe we went a little too far. Let's kind of right this ship and put the U.S. title back on him.
So we also had Natalya retaining her championship, which I believe you and I both called it. It just didn't seem like it was the right time for Charlotte to recapture that championship, or actually not recapture. This will be her first time SmackDown Women's Champion. Yeah.
So so Charlotte wins by DQ, but of course the champion doesn't lose the title on a disqualification.
That's right. That's right. I stand corrected.
Yeah, I love how Natalya just said the hell with it. And, took the DQ to not lose her title. And I love the way she's embracing her heel character and taking it even further. The match in and of itself, battle of second generation women wrestlers who we know that their father and, and uncle and fathers had, battles in their day against each other. Natalya was dominating the match from the get-go, just ferocity that she had, taking it to Charlotte. Natalya had that classic wrestling style where she targeted a body part and just picked at it and picked at it and picked at it and picked at it all night. Charlotte ended up winning that match on one leg because, Natalya was just working that leg over and over and over again. So, I thought it was a pretty good match. Definitely maintained the pace of the night. I thought these undercards did a good job of not dropping the ball as far as picking, of letting the pace lull down to almost a standstill.
That is true. But one quick thought on the Charlotte Natalia match. Charlotte didn't do herself any favors doing that moonsault on the one bad leg, though.
No, not at all. Not at all. She almost willing to sacrifice herself.
Had Rick been in the corner, he probably would have, shot her some advice like, "Nah, get down, come on down."
Yeah. That's one of those things where you have to channel your inner dad. But you know what I wish Charlotte would do, because she's already adopted the personality. She's got the ring attire. She's got the woos. She's got the flair, the dance. You know what I wish she would do?
What's that?
Do you remember when Rick would always get backed up into a corner and just get like pounded on and pounded on and pounded on, and then the guy would stop and he kept acting like if he was getting hit in the head, and then he would just lean forward and just flop down on his face?
Oh, the classic Ric Flair face flop.
I almost wish Charlotte would adopt that and like modify it a little bit if you need to. But if she would adopt that, I think it would be great for her character.
I think she can also do the corner flip, and she has such long legs and she's so athletic. I bet she can do that with cat-like reflexes.
Yeah, the flipping over on the outside of the ring.
Right.
I agree.
So what else did we have? So Jinder Mahal
Rusev versus Randy. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're right. I did skip over Randy Orton and Rusev.
The second match of the night. Yeah.
It was the second match of the night. And you know what? Let's speak on Rusev real quick. I sent you that link for the YouTube video. What are they doing with Rusev? The dude just has charisma just oozing out of him. He's so hilarious, and they could be doing so much more with him. I don't get it.
He's the one guy that has, he's got 4 out of the 5 tools. He cuts good promos. He's got the look. He's got the ability. He's had the success. And yet he just sits back there doing nothing because of, rumor is, he cut his hair. And to me, arguably, that's a better look on him with the short haircut than it was the longer look. And it just makes no sense whatsoever to waste a guy's ability like Rusev over something as petty as hair.
It makes no sense. I mean, they separated him away from Lana, which also didn't make any sense. He drops gems like Hoodie Rusev. Hoodie Rusev doesn't lose. And then he said whoever wins this match wins at life. And of course he loses. So
he modified his Hoodie Rusev. He went short sleeve Hoodie Rusev, so you could see the guns that he has been chiseling out these last few months.
Yeah, he's in tremendous shape. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. This is what frustrates you as a wrestling fan watching the WWE.
And people say, well, why do you watch if you get frustrated and whatnot? I liken it to watching your favorite sports team. You have your team and you're going to follow them through thick and thin. You're going to complain when they're losing. You're going to complain, at stupid decisions the coaches make, which will be the equivalent to us talking about, the booking, the creative decisions that are made. So you're going to stick with your team, just like I stick with wrestling. I stick with the WWE because I've seen them do great things. I know they can do great things. It's just right now, creatively, they're in a slump, and hopefully they'll break through it, man.
And you almost think maybe the fact that we have the internet and these clips and GIFs and you just can't hide anything anymore makes it even that much more difficult for writers and the creative staff to develop something new to keep it fresh and to surprise people. But it's almost like they just have given up to the fact that, hey, it's never going to be possible, so we're not even going to try. And that's what frustrates you. And look, to me, wrestling is the male version of a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
And when you get upset with your soap opera, ladies don't turn off General Hospital because they don't like the way the character's being written, right? They complain about it. They cuss at the TV. And then, the very next day, they're turning on the TV to watch the same soap opera. That's the same thing for men and wrestling. We're going to huff and puff about the WWE, but we ain't going nowhere.
We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. So hopefully they'll award our loyalty with some good stuff here pretty soon because we know they can do it. So we also had Jinder Mahal. He defeated Shinsuke Nakamura. And if you listen closely, that sound that you're hearing is Shinsuke's run here on the main roster. They've dropped the ball with him. I believe the damage that's been done to him on the main roster on SmackDown, it cannot be repaired. Stick a fork in him. He's done, in my opinion.
Well, you know what? The one thing I liked about this match is that they actually gave it enough time and enough build-up to allow each wrestler to kind of put his own spin on as far as style, especially Shinsuke in this match. But again, all the stuff leading up to it just kind of already killed that momentum, so that by the time you actually get to see Shinsuke in all his glory and all his matchup style along with Jinder Mahal, it's just kind of too little too late.
You know, they got the wrong. If the whole, we all know why Mahal earned himself this run. I mean, obviously we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure he's a good guy, number one. We don't know him. He's in phenomenal shape, so he's at least dedicated and amongst other things, right? But they want to conquer the Indian market. You know, that's the real reason why he got himself this run. And if it wasn't for that, if their whole deal was to do a foreign champion, the man we just got done talking about, Rusev, much better candidate to have gone on this run that Jinder Mahal is on. You know, Mahal should have gotten the United States Championship, and that story would have made a lot more sense with him holding that title. You know, these two, man, it's the same complaint that I had with their SummerSlam match. To me, their styles just don't mesh very well. I mean, it's wrestling is a dance. You know, you got to have two people that are compatible, that can move with each other. And it's just slow, plodding, methodical style that Jinder Mahal has just doesn't complement Shinsuke Nakamura's style. So I didn't like it.
I agree with their styles. And you know what? This goes to twofolds on things that we've talked about in the past. One being that if Rusev hadn't have gotten hurt and maybe not been in the doghouse, he probably would have been champion by now, right? He was on that rise. He was on that run. He gets hurt. And from there, he kind of, you know, goes up and down. And he's being basically likened to a jobber now, because he's being basically paired with Aiden English. So now he's a low card jobber, which makes no sense for a guy like his. And then it goes to the problem of the United States champion, which we've talked about for a long time. The United States title isn't what it was in the 90s, right? The U.S. title in the 90s was basically your stepping stone to the heavyweight, right? That was your next in line. You know, you were the next big dog out there with the U.S. title. And for a while there, it got diminished. And so the U.S. title run, like you said, which made much more sense for Jinder Mahal if that U.S. title had the elevated status that it used to have in the 90s. Now, if you were trying to conquer India in the 90s with the U.S. title on Jinder Mahal, this would totally work. In the 2015, 2016, 2017 era that we're currently living in, the U.S. title is on its way back up there to prominence, with John Cena holding it, with AJ Styles holding it, but it just doesn't have as much gravitas as it used to. And therefore, you have to put the heavyweight title on there to make that legitimate buy-in to another market.
That's a good point. It's just, unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out. And, you know, we're going to get into what we think is next for SmackDown. So I guess we'll save those thoughts for when we talk about it. So we'll move on real quick. A Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler match that I thought kind of disappointed as well. I was expecting a little bit more from these two, and I talked about it on last week's episode. I think Bobby Roode as a heel is natural for him. I don't think this face run that they're trying to do for Bobby Roode is working.
I agree, and the whole Dolph Ziggler no music thing, I don't think it's working. I don't think you're getting what you're supposed to be getting for him. And then on top of that, while I was watching the match, realizing, you know, how good Dolph Ziggler is, another finishing move that he could easily adopt is the Famouser.
Yeah, he does that very well. He gets up there. He's got some hops. I'm
like, this guy has unlimited potential of finishing moves that he can adopt, and you know, for one reason or another, they don't give it to him, or his character doesn't develop, and it just doesn't work. But I will say, Bobby Roode hitting the whole glorious in the middle of the ring while they're wrestling, I think it's great now. I think it'd be even greater if he were a heel. I agree with you.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to continue this program. They agreed to a rematch. I don't know if it's going to be at the next network special pay-per-view or if it's going to be next week on SmackDown, but it looks like they're going to continue on that program. And that brings us to the main event, Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon. Man, this match went nearly 40 minutes, 39 on the mark, according to Wikipedia. This was a fantastic match, the fantastic story. They did such a great job telling that story in a relatively short amount of time. They started it, probably towards the beginning of the summer, and they capped it off here in the Hell in a Cell. What'd you think of it, man?
Oh, phenomenal match. But some of the match itself was great. It was a long match. I noticed that as well. The spots that they pick and choose to do in the areas that they chose to do them was awesome. Obviously, when you see the finish, you know why that this was a false count anywhere. But
we called it. I mean, they gave it away.
We did call it, yeah. We did call it, but I'm like, okay, this is a Hell in a Cell match, but the damn thing started outside of the cage.
The only time that I thought the match really dragged was when they got on top of the cell. They just spent way too much time up there.
I think I thought so too. I thought, I know they were being cautious, obviously, while being up there, but I thought either something was going to happen where the cage falls in like Mankind style, or, Shane gets thrown off or Kevin Owens gets thrown off and lands on the announce table, much sooner than them just being up there and then climbing back down.
Kevin Owens teasing at one point that he was going to jump off the cage, and then he doesn't do it. That is what makes Kevin Owens so special. He is so smart, and he knows how to get heat from a crowd.
Oh yeah, and then the way he made it look like he's fighting with himself internally on whether or not to jump, it just elevated that little segment right there, right then and there too. But the moment he did it the first time, I was like, all right, Shane McMahon's coming up there.
Right, yeah. So we saw a couple of spots that we've seen before. Kevin Owens coming off the side of the cage, a la Shawn Michaels in the very first Hell in a Cell match. But man, Owens weighs a lot more than Michaels, so that he actually took a pretty damn good bump through that table, even though he was
in the corner.
Yeah, even though he was coming from halfway up the cage. I mean, I think his body weight he came down hard on that table.
Yeah, when he comes on the table, yes. And then I also noticed when he does the cannonball from the side of the ring onto the corner and tries to get Shane there. Oh man, he just cannonballs into that table, and that put at an angle in that corner. I was like, this dude is crazy.
So let's go ahead and talk about the finish of the match. So Shane is up top. We all know what's coming. We see it coming a mile away. Flashes of WrestleMania 32. Shane comes off the top, and man, this time he came down a lot harder than he came down in 32. I thought he landed a lot safer. And listen, I'm throwing safer up in with quotes. I mean, I know they rehearsed it. I know they got the airbags underneath the table, but regardless, that's very dangerous what he's doing. But man, this time he landed right on the shoulder, man.
You know what? And I was looking for it, and this time I didn't notice those. I don't know if there was airbags underneath that table.
No, there was.
If they were, they didn't deploy like they did in WrestleMania. Because in WrestleMania you could kind of see it. And this one, I was like, either he didn't land on that table right, or he was too far over, and he definitely looked like he was going to be hurting for a few days after that. My thing is, I didn't see Sami Zayn or anybody jump the barricade or whatever until he pulls Kevin Owens off the table. So I'm like, I wish they would have shown somebody coming into the ring area.
Well, okay, so the angle that we saw it in as it was happening live, you're right. We couldn't tell what was going on. But I saw another angle on YouTube. And you know what? I don't think it was an official WWE video. I think it was a video shot by someone in the crowd. And I was able to see the airbags in this particular angle. And also in this particular angle, Sami Zayn is just there waiting for his cue, I guess, So he's just awkwardly, kneeling down. So, people that are right there in the crowd, they're looking at him going, okay, what are you doing? Why are you just kneeling down? So, but he pulls him out of the way. We get the surprise. What'd you think of that? I mean, that was actually pretty shocking.
It was surprising to me. I didn't see that coming. It's not like before they hinted at maybe, hey, if you get in trouble, I'll help you or something like that. Just kind of comes out of nowhere. Again, just kneeling there, and then you have no reason why. You do get no explanation. He just pulls him out of the way, and then to add insult to injury, just drags him on top of Shane McMahon for the pin, and which also leads to why it was a false count anywhere situation.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I fantasy booked it. You think about wrestling and what they can do, but I didn't think they would actually do it. So kudos to WWE for pulling out something that was a bit of a surprise, because it's hard to do nowadays. Now, where they go with this, that's going to be the real interesting part. They cut that promo. On this past Tuesday on SmackDown, they really didn't indicate where they were going to be going with it. I guess all signs point to Shane McMahon getting his revenge against Sami Zayn, maybe?
Yeah, I guess so. And what's funny is that it's kind of like a heel turn, but all his reasons make sense.
Right, yeah. It's one of those, he feels justified in what he did, which sometimes makes the best heels. Those that don't know that they're being a bad guy sometimes make the best bad guys.
Yeah, but when you see it coming from Sami Zayn, and I guess it just maybe takes time, it just doesn't seem like it fits him well yet. Seems like it's a jacket that needs to be tailored a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out over the next few weeks. But
well, I'll tell you what, if they keep his same entrance music, that's definitely not going to get him over as a bad guy.
No, not that up tempo peppy stuff. It definitely won't get him over.
But you were saying?
Well, it's interesting to see, and it's funny that like we all look, and I kind of think it's the same thing with same thing that happened to Big Cass, is all his reasons for turning on Enzo made sense, and therefore kind of won him over with the crowd more than it did give him heat. So I wonder if maybe this is going to be the same situation.
What they possibly could do, a handful of episodes ago, I fantasy booked a Sami Zayn Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania. They possibly could take it there. This starts off as an alliance, and then old feelings start to brood, and then we come back full circle to them battling one another. Batman, Joker, they're destined to do this forever. That could be one destination for this.
Man, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And of course, if they give it time to breathe and let it develop, now would be the perfect time, because it's not like that partnership is going to last very long. We're talking about relatively, 5-6 months to develop the storyline. So it gives it enough time to be a partnership and enough time to kind of have those feelings bubble up to the surface and the turns start to happen. So yeah, it could work.
So next we have TLC, which will be a Raw brand pay-per-view. So the next time SmackDown is on pay-per-view will be a Survivor Series. So they got, let's take a look at.
Well, in that same month they have the Starrcade, which is unknown whether it will be like a network special, or because as of right now the card that I had seen was all SmackDown branded.
Right, I believe it's just a house show, unless they announce here in the next couple of weeks. When's that going down? Is that around the time of Survivor Series?
I think it's like 2 weeks before Survivor Series is the date that I saw.
Okay, so unless they announce it within the next couple of weeks, as far as I know, it's just a house show, but it could easily be a network special. Quite frankly, I don't know why they don't do more live events and they also air it on the network. Maybe not the entire live event, kind of like the best of this week of in live events, because they do 3 to 4 live events in a week. So I don't understand why they don't do stuff like that.
Well, they did it with Brock Lesnar when he went to Japan. Remember the Beast in the East? I think they only aired like 3 or 4 matches. I think you got like a Finn Balor match. You got, of course, the Brock Lesnar match, maybe one more match, and it was like an hour and a half. You could do something like that with Starrcade too, and just be, I guess, a network show within a network show.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that just looks to be easy to do. It shouldn't cost them that much more to do it. I mean, the cameras are already there. They film every single thing that they do. And you know what? I don't need commentary. Just show us the match.
Yeah, and you can easily dub the commentary over if you really wanted to. And or add some places in there. Yeah, I think again, like, they film everything, so it's not like they're having to add extra camera crew or lighting. All that stuff is already there. So we'll see what happens with that.
So unless they air that on the network, the next time SmackDown brand will be on the network will be Survivor Series. So we'll see where they go. Unless they do something right after the TLC pay-per-view, I'm not sure if they're going to go back to the Raw versus SmackDown, which I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing that match again. Last year's Raw versus SmackDown match was an excellent match. So I don't know.
In the Survivor Series. Yeah, I was going to ask you, assuming that a given is the Raw versus SmackDown, who is your captain for Team SmackDown?
For Team SmackDown, if it's not going to be the champion, which I think they could do a neat little story with. So Jinder Mahal captains the SmackDown team, and there's dissension within the SmackDown team because they look at him as as what the general feeling of him is as a failed champion, and I think that can make for interesting dynamics. Him trying to captain that team at a Survivor Series.
Yeah, that could work. I was thinking maybe the face that runs the place, AJ Styles, leading a SmackDown team up against a. It'll
have to be the Shield on Raw.
Yeah, like a Shield-led Raw. By the way, let's think about that for a second, right? Now that you mentioned the Shield. So obviously we called a Shield reunion. We speculated on that. The Shield reunion happened this past week on Raw. So the Shield hasn't been together in 3 years. And in that 3 years, this Shield team have been tag team champions, United States title champions, and they each have been world heavyweight champions. Like, name another team that can give you 3 heavyweight champions on that team.
Evolution.
DX only had 2.
Yeah.
In Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Yeah, well, even back when they were like a foursome, it was only those 2 that were champions.
Yeah, so you're talking about like the elite of the elite in this group here.
Now, I do like how quickly they're able to get T-shirts made.
Well, this day and age, something can happen now, and in 2 hours, it's on the internet already for pre-sale.
So let's go ahead and stay on the Shield. So like you said, they went ahead and made the reunion official. I don't know, man. I still pictured it being a much grander event, but there's really nothing else going on. So I do understand why they're doing it right now. I don't know if it's the Miz that makes it less of a grandiose moment. Maybe they should have done that later on in the show, and they should have done the Braun Strowman spot first. That would have made it a lot more epic.
Yeah, and I was about to say the same thing. I love how the Shield not only handled the Miz and the Bar, they came out after Braun Strowman as well. So I think maybe if their introduction is Braun Strowman and then you handle business with the Miz, maybe it feels bigger. But you finally got people to cheer Roman Reigns, right?
So as of right now on Wikipedia, they have the match as a 4-on-3 handicap tables, ladders, chairs match between the Shield against Braun Strowman, the Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus. Not understanding that as far as why would the Shield go in 3 against 4?
Why would Braun Strowman even be added to this match?
Well, it would make sense as far as him wanting to get his comeuppance for them jumping him, but I don't understand the whole 3 versus 4. I mean, either you throw someone in there to make it an even 4-on-4, or you drop the Miz from this match because he's the odd man out in that team right there. I love him, don't get me wrong, but as far as okay, Strowman, the Bar, Miz. I mean, who doesn't fit there? It's the Miz.
Yeah, it's the square peg in a round hole.
So also they went ahead and got I'm looking at the card here on Wikipedia. Alexa Bliss going against Mickie James for the women's championship. Asuka going against Emma in Asuka's debut match. Did you happen to see that on this past Monday? I thought it was kind of hokey that they would compete at an opportunity to face Asuka. Like that just seemed really weird to me.
I did see that. I saw the Mickie James old timey reel where it's black and white, and talking about her legacy, and Alexa Bliss against Mickie James at a pay-per-view. Okay, but Asuka against Emma, you're literally throwing her a layup.
Right. I think it would have been much better. It would have made much more sense for someone to go to Kurt Angle and demand the Asuka match versus him having 5 women go at it to determine, hey, this is the winner's going to go on and face Asuka. It just seems stupid. This would have been a great opportunity for Bayley to step up and say, hey, Kurt, I got unfinished business with Asuka. She beat me for that title in NXT. I want to greet Asuka here on the main roster. That would have been a great spot for Bayley.
I agree. Or, the boss, Sasha Banks, to take her, shit, hey, ain't no woman coming up here on Raw going to take my spot, she needs to learn her place in line. That would have also been a great spot. But what are they doing with Emma?
I don't know. And she's got the ability, she's a great looking woman. I don't get it, man. It's almost, I always think back to, they should have just left that women's division as one big division with tag teams and all, and the whole 9 yards, the whole gambit. And Emma would be in a much more deserved spot because right now she's just floundering.
Yeah, I agree. If you would have made it and let them go to both Raw and SmackDown, you have the women's title belt. You can create a women's intercontinental championship or a women's United States title, or I don't know, a Susan G. Coleman title, and then the tag team titles. I think you would have had better opportunities to mix the veterans with some of the younger guys and have these titles on women that can, get more spotlight.
Hey, with you mentioning Susan G. Coleman, I mean, I wasn't going to mention this, but now I have to. I can't think of a more odd situation than the Ultimate Warrior, a guy who was notorious for being an asshole back in the day. There's clips of him online saying some pretty disparaging things against gays, minorities, et cetera. And then for him, unfortunately, he passed away. I wish that on nobody. But then they take his name and flip it into like this whole positive spirit and unleash your inner warrior. I mean, there's got to be guys in that company just slapping themselves in the face going, what are we doing here?
You know what? It's the power of marketing.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoever is the head of marketing has probably got the fattest bonus at the end of the year for flipping, the Ultimate Warrior persona as far as being an angry, big, aggressive guy who we've known, behind the scenes as being basically an asshole, and turned it into like this lovable, like, bring out your inner warrior and do it for the kids. And, the Dana Warrior Foundation and all this other stuff. Whoever came up with that idea needs a pay raise.
Yeah, you talk about turning a negative into a positive. And it's nuts because Warrior was my favorite wrestler growing up as a child. And then once I kind of got hip to the game of wrestling and I started appreciating the art itself, Shawn Michaels became my guy. But coming up, I was a Warrior guy, man. I was never a Hogan guy. I was all about the Warrior.
Hey, I had the Warrior wrestling buddy, dog.
Yeah.
So, I was a fan. Of course, like you go back, like I remember the Warrior as a kid. I'm like, oh, this dude is crazy. This dude is nuts. Like, he's a guy that you look to in the wrestling world. And then you go back and look at it and like actually watch like the promos and stuff like that. And you're like, what in the hell was I watching when I was a kid?
Not only the promos, do I look at these old clips and then I'm just slapping myself in the face again, that emoji slap in the hand face, what they're wearing. Like, okay, and we're kind of going on a sidebar here. One of my favorite clips to laugh at, because it's just, the situation is so ludicrous, is the Hogan Warrior contract signing for WrestleMania 6. You got Warrior coming in the office. They're in this like conference room and Warrior comes in, throws the Intercontinental belt on the table, and and he's dressed regular with the exception of the face paint. But then you got Hogan in his whole ring outfit, like he's in a conference room with the tank top, the red bandana, and the yellow trunks. I'm like, what is? They look so stupid.
Yeah, and it wasn't the full spandexy pants. It was the little tidy whities.
Yeah, I mean, like he's ready to get it on now. Forget waiting on WrestleMania 6, brother.
You know what? My favorite thing about wrestlers in the 80s and 90s is, I don't know if you catch this, but like if you go back and watch it, there was like a period of time where all these wrestlers had like black denim jackets spray painted with like graffiti and bright colors on it.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ultimate Warrior, who never wears a jacket anywhere, has this jacket on while he's cutting a promo, and then he's talking about looking to the stars and the skies will run red with blood, and then like you can tell that the reason he's wearing a jacket is because he has like a blood pack running up through his head, and then his head starts bleeding out of nothing, out of nowhere.
Oh, you're talking about the Papa Shango angle.
Exactly. You know, where he's sitting there cutting a promo wearing a jacket that he's never worn. That he never wears, worn right. Ever. And then, you know, just blood starts bleeding from his forehead.
That's class. You know what, man? That's a whole other pod that we're definitely going to have to do in the future, man. But let's go ahead and get back into the present. And speaking of, you know, presently we have a new Cruiserweight champion, Kalisto, finally going to the Cruiserweight division. Why he wasn't there from the get-go, nobody knows. But, man, have you heard about this situation with Neville?
I did hear about situation with Neville leaving, just walking off Raw angry. So supposedly, from what I read, Neville was supposed to be facing Enzo, not necessarily winning the Cruiserweight champion that night, but facing Enzo, and somehow gets pulled. Kalisto Beast puts in there, and then they made the decision to go ahead and make Kalisto the champion. And Neville just walks out.
You know, it's a shame because unfortunately Neville, I have no illusions here that he was going to be a main eventer one day. Not that he couldn't, but I understand that's not the kind of guy that they're going to push into that spot. But he's definitely better than being pegged into the Cruiserweight division. And again, I will beat this horse until it's dead, and then I'm going to beat it back to life. You can book that Cruiserweight division, you know, not necessarily as, hey, we're only limited to this small little, like, we're going to put you in your own little pen and we're going to put you over here and you can't interact with the other children in the room. I mean, they can interact with the rest of the roster, you know, and then when it's time for them to go after a title, well, then they go after the Cruiserweight title because that's a 205-pound limit title. But outside of that, they can mix with the rest of the roster. I don't get why they're just confined in their own little space, and that's what's killing that division.
Yeah, I agree. And then my thing is if you're going to confine them to their own division, then get them the hell off Raw. Exactly.
Give them their own show. Which I mean, they have live. Yeah. That sounded stupid.
No, but I know.
If I watched it, I would remember.
Just like expand that 205 live show and give them, you know, their own little 2-hour show. It's on the network. You know, just get them the hell off Raw then. If you want them only to interact with other cruiserweights. And I told you, I think you're better. Your idea, which is better, is to instead of limiting it to a weight, limit to a style of wrestling, and sure. That way you can have, you know, legitimately cruiserweights fighting The Miz on Raw if you wanted to do it that way, and still be, you know, cruiserweight champions or whatever you want to call the division, but limited to a style as opposed to a weight limit, and then it opens up more.
Exactly. You know, now more than ever, the idea of a multi-division champion that's the thing. You know, UFC is obsessed with that idea of having a guy holding two belts at the same time. And WWE's flirted with it in the past when the World Championship and the WWE title were combined as one title, but for whatever reason they still carried both belts. So, you know, now you have a legit reason to do it. There's some sense behind it. There's an idea behind it that the fans can grasp and get a hold of and go, okay, I get it, but they're not doing it. Go figure.
Yeah, and you know why I think the WWE is not doing that is because then I don't know if you know this, but you're familiar with Jay Lethal, correct?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Jay Lethal, while he was in Ring of Honor, not only was the heavyweight champion, he was also the TV title champion.
A title that I will never understand, but that's for another pod.
So he held both those belts. Basically, he beat the WWE to the punch with holding both the two highest belts in Ring of Honor and defended both of them for well over a year before he finally lost one or the other. And, you know, the WWE is not necessarily keen on taking an idea that they can't say that it was theirs.
Yeah, and they have a history that proves that. I agree.
So, but it's just the cruiserweight division just kind of gets on my nerves. You know, honestly, I would much rather see the hardcore division come back than continue watching the cruiserweight division.
Be a lot more entertaining. I mean, I don't know, man, but as of right now, it's rumor that Neville walked out on or asked for his release. It's confirmed that he walked out on Raw. Multiple sources have confirmed that. What's not confirmed is whether or not he asked for his release and whether or not WWE will give him his release. So we'll kind of see how that situation plays itself out.
Yeah, that plays to like another situation that I was talking to you about offline, but just briefly talk about the whole Santino Marella, Jim Cornette issue over the weekend.
Yeah, making major waves, those two, man. I mean, they got a history, though.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a history. It goes back to that Ohio Valley and the Boogeyman situation, but I watched and it's only like a 30-second video that I found. And boy, I've never heard Jim Cornette cuss so much in my life.
Oh, I've heard him curse plenty of times, man. And listen, I give Cornette props for having the balls to scream at that dude in his face. And Santino's a better man than I am, because I'd be damned if I let somebody, first of all, put hands back on me back in the day, and then in that situation to just have him holler at you like that, man, and disrespect you like that. Man, Santino's a better man than I am. A round of applause for Santino right there.
I agree with you, because now I wouldn't be happy about it, but given the situation, how I'm trying to break in originally in Ohio Valley, I can understand why you would restrain yourself, because you don't want to get blackballed.
No, yeah, I don't want to get fired.
Mm-hmm. But definitely in that convention, I'm whooping his ass.
Yeah. Maybe Santino's like, you know what? I know I can hurt this dude, because man, Santino has got like a MMA background. I forget what discipline it is that he's versed in, but I mean, the man could put a serious hurting on this dude if he really wanted to. And you know what? I don't know. Maybe at the end of the day, you know, Santino's okay with knowing, you know what? If I really wanted to, man, I could end this dude.
Yeah, he did the right thing. I think he did the right thing. It's just funny how feuds develop for nothing, or how they fester. How these guys, they don't let anything go.
No, and in Cornette, like I told you in our text messages, man, Cornette, I respect the mind that he has for the business, but he's just one of those dudes that clings on to the past. Man, things evolve. Yeah. I don't like every single thing that the business of wrestling has become. As a fan, I'm obviously not in the business, but as a fan, there are certain things that I wish aren't around like they are. But man, things evolve, and you can't do anything about it, man. You just got to roll with it.
Not just that, there's trends, there's ups and downs, and there's fads, and some fads tend to work out and some don't, and it's just kind of the ebbs and flows of life. So would you like to see some things never happen because you just know from the jump that it's stupid? Sure. But not everybody has that same mentality. You just gotta roll with the punches.
So speaking of ebbs and flows and fads, looks like rumor was true. Bray Wyatt, Sister Abigail. Is this actually gonna play itself out in the ring? Do you think they're gonna go all the way with this thing?
I think you have to now, right?
I mean, you've set it up to make us think that you got to deliver.
You kind of pinned yourself in a corner in a situation where you got to deliver. I just don't know in this day and age how there is just not going to be an outcry from whatever communities are out there that are going to see this and be like, yeah, you can't be doing that.
You know what? I don't think so. I think it's so hokey that I think this kind of gets glossed over. Like if this was like, say the angle was a guy, really exploring the idea of being a woman, then I can see that. But this is hokey. He's channeling a the spirit of his dead sister or whatever that story is. I think this one gets a pass.
But it's still going to be like the sister. So, okay. But here's my thing with Bray Wyatt again. So then if Sister Abigail comes and slays the demon, you needed your dead sister to beat Finn Balor?
Well, and here's the thing. I don't know if this is going to necessarily result in a Bray Wyatt win, because rumor is that Finn's going to be challenging Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship at Survivor Series. So, I mean, we've seen dumber shit happen, but one would think you're not going to beat the next challenger for the Universal Championship. So, I mean, is this another Finn Balor win over Bray Wyatt as Sister Abigail? I mean, if that's the case, man, Bray Wyatt just needs to go away, because the man can't catch a break.
Which, again, makes no sense. Why the hell is Finn Balor challenging Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship? Given how big, I know Samoa Joe's hurt, but you still have Roman Reigns, you still have Braun Strowman, unfinished business with them. And hell, there's still other guys. Why? Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. Like, well, I legitimately can see other guys ahead of Finn Balor.
Well, right now they just happen to be tied up with the Shield, so I think storyline-wise, that's a nice little convenient reason for them not to be in the title picture right now. Braun Strowman, it can be argued that they could have continued that program, Brock and Braun Strowman. Maybe they just don't want to beat Strowman multiple times, because it's clear that they're going to leave the title on Lesnar. I mean, there's no one else. There's absolutely no one else for Lesnar to challenge. And from what I understand, Lesnar was originally not going to work Survivor Series, but now that Cena is off doing his thing with the Transformer movie, they need that star power. So they're kind of pulling this out of the bag.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you know what doesn't make sense? What's up with your boy Jason Jordan?
What did he do this past Monday? I can't even remember what he did.
Well, he fought Carl Anderson. But it looks like he went to Kofi Kingston's Lost and Found.
Oh, that's right.
And was like, let me see what I can find.
I'm telling you, that in the Titantron with the green and yellow, it's so weird. It does not match him whatsoever.
Not at all. Almost like, it's similar shades to Apollo Crews when he was down in NXT and came up to Raw. The first few times he had that greenish yellow tint to it. I'm like, what are you wearing? And then he goes from a singlet to like the straight tighty whitey draws. I don't know, bro.
Not a good look. So they kind of advanced the story a little bit between Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle. I'm really surprised that The Miz, as of now, it appears he's going to be competing in that TLC match, because I figured that Miz and Jason Jordan will kind of meet again at TLC. So,
well, I think I'm pretty sure that the Universal Championship's not going to be defended at TLC, because the Shield versus the Bar and Miz and maybe Braun Strowman is going to be. It's already been made as the main event. So you need some, I guess, the next big name or the next big title on there to keep that relevance and keep that star power. So it makes sense why they put that feud on the back burner temporarily, but I didn't think that feud was going anywhere. I don't think that feud was anything more than just to set up a potential Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan angle storyline.
So going back to Bray Wyatt, one thing that I forgot to mention, so Harper and Rowan, they're coming back. They got a new name for them. Did you happen to catch this?
I did see that. They had a new name. What is it? The
Bludgeon Brothers, I believe.
Yeah, the Bludgeon Brother. I did see that. Luke Harper had, if I'm not mistaken, in the photo, he had like a hammer or something like that, didn't he?
Yeah, they're carrying weapons and shit, kind of like some post-zombie apocalypse type weaponry.
So that would definitely give a jolt in the arm to the SmackDown title division area, the tag team title division area,
which is a title they've never won. If memory serves me correct, they never won that tag championship when they were the Wyatt family. So that'll be a fresh new champion for them if they decide to go that route.
Eric Rowan was hurt at the time that they had won the title, so it was Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper.
Oh, that's correct. And Randy
And
Orton
then and
during
Randy
that time.
Orton, yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like the New Day, where it was either Orton and Harper, Orton and Wyatt and, but Rowan was hurt at that time. So Rowan has never held the tag team titles. Harper's held it once.
No, you're absolutely correct, and I'm glad they changed up their name, because obviously it doesn't make any sense to call them the Wyatts anymore. They're no longer with Bray
No.
Wyatt, and I'm not a big fan of just simply calling a tag team by their names. I like the tag team name. It kind of shows a little bit more unity.
Yeah, I agree. And I like when they have similar attire. Like, it works. Like, finally, it stopped becoming Cesaro and Sheamus, and it became the Bar. They have the brown military jackets with the thumb sideways kind of thing. They started wearing the kilts and the jackets. So I think if you're going to go tag team, you got to give them a name. You got to give them outfits that work well with each other.
Yeah, I think the outfit that Rowan wears, just kind of modified a little bit. I'm not a big fan of the whole tank top and jeans that Harper wears. I think
dirty tank top, yeah.
Yeah, I think Ambrose pulls off that look a little bit better. So if he were to match Rowan's outfit, man, you call it a day. I think it's good to go.
And these dudes are both like 6'6", 6'8". I think Rowan it's like 315, and I think Harper's listed at like 285.
Yeah, they're big dudes, man, but they can move, especially Harper. Man, Harper has a future. If they whenever his run comes to an end with Rowan, this will be the third or fourth run that they go on, but they really, really need to do something with him as a single, because there's something there, man.
He's got a personality. The few times that we've seen him kind of on the microphone, you can tell that he's got a little bit of a personality under there. And I agree with you. If he can stay healthy, which has been the issue for both of those guys, it seems like they're almost like the Revival. If one's hurt, if one's not hurt, the other one is. And if they can stay healthy, I agree. These guys are big and agile. They remind me of a young Undertaker, maybe when he was called Mean Mark Callis, where the dude, was light and nimble. He was a 7-footer who could, move on the top of a ropes like a cruiserweight. That's what they remind me of.
Yeah, man. Dudes.
Speaking of so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go right ahead, man.
I was gonna say, speaking of the Undertaker, did you see Elias Sampson walk the rope?
I did. Undertaker comes back to take care of the Drifter.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that he's starting to develop some character, some charisma, some personality in his wrestling moves, and the fact that of course he doesn't go out as far as half the rope like the Undertaker used to, but hell, just moving as far as he could is still impressive. So I'm kind of liking it. He's starting to slowly grow on me.
I'm telling you, man, when we did the pod where we did our fantasy booking, I kind of pegged him as one to watch for. I think they're gonna do something with him.
You did, and he's slowly but surely growing on me.
So Elias reminds me of The Rock, of when he used to do his concerts, when he used to be in the middle of the ring with that acoustic guitar. And we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the episode talking about The Rock and this supposed beef that he has with Tyrese. By chance, do you know what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, well, yes. So, The Rock joined the Fast and the Furious franchise in 6, I think it is.
I believe Fast 5 was his first one.
5. So 5, 6, and 7. And rumor was that the chemistry between Jason Statham and The Rock was so apparent that they wanted to roll them on to their own spinoff. And now it's been made official that The Rock and Jason Statham will have a Fast and the Furious spinoff, that they had to push the Fast and the Furious 9 back a year to accommodate the spinoff. So the spinoff will come out in 2018, and then 2019, and then Fast 9 will come out in 2020. And so Tyrese then went on social media. I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or I don't know if it was being serious, talking about why this man got his own spinoff. And then from there, The Rock responded back to him. I don't know what he said, but basically stemming from the whole spinoff of The Rock and Jason Statham.
So I think this goes back a little bit further into the past, because Vin Diesel and Rock supposedly had a beef during the filming of the last Fast movie.
Yeah, he called him a candy ass, and well, he didn't call Vin Diesel directly a candy ass, but he said that people were acting like candy asses and not showing up to set and all this other stuff, and it was led to believe that it was, Vin Diesel he was talking about.
Right. So, I understand both sides. Here's Vin. Vin was, obviously a part of the Fast franchise since its infancy. And rumor has it that he was instrumental in bringing The Rock into the franchise. And listen, Rock Rock's my dude. But before the Fast franchise, Rock really wasn't, he wasn't the star that he is now. And quite frankly, the reason he's the star that he is now is because of the Fast franchise. So I think Vin Diesel kind of looks at it as I made you, Rock. And The Rock ain't playing that game.
No, definitely
Rock
not.
take you to the SmackDown hotel, Vin.
Tyrese, I love him in the movies. He's hilarious. But you can definitely tell in the last few installments that The Rock's persona, his character, was going to be a bigger part than yours. And, I guess it's just a little bit of jealousy and a little bit of resentment, I guess, that, you hold up the franchise, as they call it, and I'm quoting him on the Instagram post. He says, "Congratulations to at The Rock and your brother-in-law, $7 producing partner at HH Garcia 41 for making the Fast and the Furious franchise about you," in all caps. "And like you, DJ, even if they call, I will not be deleting this post. Good night, folks. See you in 2020. Fast family, right? Nah, it's about Team Dwayne."
Yo, Tyrese, know your role. Shut your mouth.
And then he followed that up with a photo of the original cast of the Fast and the Furious franchise with guys like the mad scientist Jesse and the third guy the fourth guy in that group who I can't even think of his name and was only in one movie, and we don't know what the hell happened to him. He's being petty.
Yeah, the one that had beef with Paul Walker.
No, him. That's Vince. The other guy, the guy with like the raspy voice, the skinny version of Vince.
I can't think of this.
I can't even tell you his name. I can't even tell you his character's name he was the fourth guy. So you had Vin, you had Vince, you had Jesse the mad scientist, and then you had this dude.
Man, I'm gonna have to hit up IMDb and find out. I can't picture this guy.
But so The Rock did kind of come over and take over, but like I was talking to somebody, I read an interesting article that said that the Fast and the Furious franchise, first of all, look how long a car racing movie has lasted. We're talking about 10 movies. We're talking about over 10 years, or 20 plus years from the first time the first movie's out till the next Fast and the Furious comes out, of how long this franchise has survived, and it's evolved. And and I think I was reading this article and I agree with it. The James Bond movies have become so serious and so grounded in realism that these Fast and the Furious franchise has kind of stepped up into a hole left void and vacant by these James Bond movies. Because, these James Bond movies were cool movies, but also dealt in a bit of fantasy and situations where you're like, yeah, right. Case in point, the Roger Moore Lotus that turns into a submarine.
Yeah, classic shit.
Exactly. So, but we were okay with that. That's what it was. And then it turned into more realism when Daniel Craig became the James Bond, which I like, that it left a void in the whole sci-fi genre action-packed movie, that the Fast and the Furious has gone from street racing to, hell, they have the love child between a tank and a freaking Charger fall down a hill in the Caucasus Mountains in Europe and survive.
All right, so that dude that we couldn't think of, the actor name is Johnny Strong. The character was Leon.
Leon, there you go. We have no idea what the hell happened to Leon, and nobody cares to find out what happened to Leon.
Nobody cares. Somewhere he's posting on Instagram, "Hey Tyrese, what about me? What about me?" Well, man, on that note, we're going to come to a close right there. As always, appreciate everyone for taking the time to listen to us. For Ant-Man, I am Triple R. We are signing off, and we will catch you guys next week.
just a little quick shout out to Tyrese, his new album, Black Rose. I just heard it. I literally just heard it. I heard the whole thing in my trailer, and I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard. Everyone's laughing, by the way, but it's true because everybody's heard it too. Everyone heard it, right? They look at all. Everyone's like, yeah, big piece of dog shit. Shouldn't be called Black Rose. It should be called big piece of black dog shit. That's what it should be called. Not even the hard, dried up dog shit for 7 days. It's the soft dog shit. It's like baby shit. It's like that. That's what the album is like. And I never want to hear it again, and I'm never going to fucking forgive him for wasting my time. That is time I will never get back. It's like dog shit is in my ear. Motherfucker.